Now then, we are looking forward to an All-Ireland final on Sunday. It's Galway against Kerry, two of the traditional powers in the game. We're not expecting an entirely traditional matchup. We're looking forward to it nonetheless. Very happy to say Colm Boyle, four-time All-Stars with us, knows a thing or two about All-Ireland finals. Great to have you with us.
Joe, how are you doing? Thanks for having me on.
No, it's great to have you on. The build-up to a final, you've had your fair share of these. Generally a week to be manoeuvred as opposed to enjoyed as a player?
Yeah, it's a strange one. I think the fact that there's just a 2-week gap and the hurling final is only over a couple of days, I think that'll probably help the players. You know, there probably hasn't been much of a chance for a massive build-up coming into the game, you know. So I think I would have probably liked that as a player, because a lot of the time we had 3 or 4 weeks, and it can drag on certainly the last week or two. But for you, it's just about getting through it. Really, the hard work is done, and you're honing in a couple of things. But really, from when the teams played the semi-finals, they probably really have had 3 or 4 training sessions leading into the final, which is probably ideal, really, if you ask me.
Away from training, Colin, did you tend to try and retreat into a cave the week of the final?
Yeah, but look, we played in so many. I probably had different approaches. Like early on, I think I would have taken probably a couple of weeks off work leading into finals. I tried different avenues just really to keep myself and really just laser focus on rest and preparation and food and hydration and everything you could leading into it. But probably as time went on, I probably relaxed a small bit more on it and just really worked up towards the week of the game and a couple of days in the lead out to it. But stuff that might have maybe bothered me and in maybe the early years wouldn't have bothered me in the later years as I got a bit older and a bit wiser probably.
What job did you do as a matter of interest?
A Garda.
Okay. So,
yeah,
you couldn't really avoid maybe bumping into people.
Yeah, exactly. Look, you're out and about, you're going to calls, you're out and about in the streets and you're meeting people. So, of course, and look in the Mayo, I work in Westport, so Mayo, Mad, Town, of course, you're going to be meeting loads of people and talking about the game. Like I said, that probably didn't like early on, but as time went on, you get used to it.
Did you ever arrest anyone and then they tried to ask you how things were going ahead of the game on Sunday?
I've had a few instances, all right, like that. But yeah, a few funny stories. I might be able to tell them now, but maybe again.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
So, I mean, she's taken a week or two off work in advance of a final. That's eating into your annual leave, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it was around the 16 final. I think it actually took a month. I had it planned pretty much the start of the year that I taken that month out in the lead up to the All-Ireland final. It actually worked out ideal from the date of the semi-final to the final, the exact dates that I planned. So literally just a case of training, resting, but to be honest with you, looking back, I found that a long 4 weeks. So I don't know how the teachers managed to do it every summer. But it was great in a way that I was just able to prep. Did it help my performance in any way? I don't know, because that actually went to a replay, and I'd say there was a 2-week lead in and I was back to work the following week. I think I actually probably played better in the replay than I did the first day. So, yeah.
Well, you've taken the question out of my mouth. I was going to ask, was there a correlation between taking time off and playing well?
To be honest, I don't think so. No, I don't think it made much of a difference. I might have been able to train a bit better maybe in the lead up to it. Maybe there was a difference that way, but come the game day itself, I don't think there was a huge amount of difference.
So it sounds like your advice to, well, I guess a whole host of players who haven't played in the final ahead of this weekend is work if you want to work, don't work if you don't want to work, talk to everybody you meet, don't talk to anybody that you meet. A lot of it is just irrelevant, and you can read too much into, God, have I had the perfect week? Have I had the perfect week?
100%, and everyone is different. That's the thing, Joe. And actually, an old video popped up there on my phone of Declan Hannon and Kyle Hayes. It was an interview after the 2018 final, and Kyle Hayes said he was in a building site in Cork until 5 o'clock the Friday evening for an Ireland final. And to me, that would have been my worst nightmare. But for some boys, it's just what happens, and just get on with it. And everyone is different, you know.
Yeah, I guess what you don't want is to be almost worrying about whether what you've done is right or not. That almost drains the energy as much as what you're actually doing, I suspect.
Of course, yeah, that's nearly, you know, a lot of what I would have done would actually try and plan out the week as best you can on a Monday or even a Sunday evening. Just write down really what your week looks like, and if it goes too much out of sync, then you're trying to bring it back or tailor a few things into it. But it's generally what works best for, like, a lot of them boys, you know, between teachers and so many of them are probably students. They're probably off anyway. A good few of them, I would say, just the age category of both teams. So it probably has been a long lead in this week to the match itself.
Was there generally a touch of emotion at training sessions? Were there speeches in the dressing room about what this means to you and your family and your county to set a tone for a week, or did Mayo try and almost retreat away from that? Because obviously Mayo in particular, winning Sam Maguire, is such a big Everest.
Yeah, nothing really that stands out. You probably during that spell, like I said, because you probably had a month in, so you would have training weekends where we'd gone away. We used to go to Limerick actually quite a lot and stay down there and train in the Gaelic grounds just because the pitch was so good. The Gaelic grounds, it was kind of trying to replicate the Crow Park surface. And we'd stay down there maybe from Friday to Sunday. And you would have meetings and, talk about different things. And you would delve into that side of it, the emotional side of it a small bit, but try not to overdo it. As time went on, I would say we probably went away from that a small bit more then and just really focused on really what was important in the game itself.
Yeah, I suppose that is the real advantage here that Kerry may have, and to an extent. I mean, they haven't been in as many finals as Mayo, but that sense of experience that it is another game, and you can hype this up to the heavens, and actually the reality is the whistle blows and it's just another game. It does sound like that Mayo team you were part of got to a point where they were just very, very familiar with finals and the occasion, and could actually treat them almost as just another game where they have to hit a certain level of performance.
That's exactly what I was going to say. But just over time, it just felt like another game. It felt like a semi-final. Probably it didn't feel like it to supporters, but it did to us, You mentioned Kerry there for Sunday. I think earlier on I checked the replay in 19. I would expect 13 of the team that started that day to start again the next day. So they have that kind of experience of being there, playing in a final, knowing the kind of whole emotions that go with it and the preparation that go into it, and obviously the disappointment for them for losing it. So you would have to say in that regards, they probably do have a small bit of advantage over this Galway team. The other side of it is if they do come into the last 15, 20 minutes and Galway are right there with them, there might be that small bit of edginess and that nervousness, especially that we saw in the second half against Dublin. It was really relevant there. So if you're Pádraig Joyce and Keane O'Neill this week, that's what you're drilling home to your team, to really get your team down the home stretch and you're within striking distance of Kerry.
As a final thought on all this broad area of build-up and managing hype and the occasion, is there any advice you would give to a younger player who's experiencing their first All-Ireland week and into All-Ireland final weekend?
Like I said here, Andros, everyone is so different that, what works for someone won't work for the next person. I know it's the most simple thing the word to say, but enjoy it. Enjoy it. Like I played it.
There's no enjoying it, is there?
I know. Well, there isn't. Like I said, I would have hide away for the first couple of years and I not want to talk to anyone on the street. As time went on there, got a bit more sense and just, enjoyed the whole, like they're magical days to be part of, you know what I mean? And that's coming from someone who's never won one, but they're unbelievable special occasions. Something you would have dreamt about as a young player. And to be honest, whoever wins the next day, I'll be envious of them. I was envious of the Limerick hurlers the last day, watching them on the pitch after the game. If Galway win it, I'll probably be, slightly more envious the fact that it'll be a lot closer to home. My bordering club here my club is on the border here with Galway, and a lot of our club members will actually be Galway people. So, of course, you'll be envious, but you'll have huge respect for them. If they do win it, do get over the line and get the job done.
Well, I was going to ask, are Mayo people up for Galway here or Kerry?
I'd say if you talk to a lot of, the big talk in Mayo is because we've been so close over the last couple of years, you will be a bit sickened if Galway come in and win this one after not coming from nowhere, but coming from the back of the pack or around the middle of the pack, as you could say. So, it will hurt. It will hurt a lot of people, Mayo people, I would say, in that regards. And, you will be jealous of them. There's no doubt. You wouldn't be human if you weren't. But look, at the same time, if they did win, it would be great for the West. And they're noisy neighbours out the minute, and they certainly be a lot louder if they do pull it off on Sunday.
Worse again, because it's like 98 all over again.
Yeah, and probably even a bit more on top of that, I'd say. Obviously, the last two finals in 96, 97 that time, but we were kind of nearly going at it for a decade, and Galway really not getting close to a bar semi-final in 18, so it's nearly more on top of it. But the thing about Galway is, I know, look, they've a huge up. I think they've a right good chance of winning this game. When it comes down to will they have enough, I'm not 100% sure, but I think Galway have the foundations now to hang around there at the top table for a few years now. And that's going to be the thing for them going forward, win or lose on Sunday. So look, if they don't get it done on Sunday, that's not to say that they won't get it done in the next couple of years.
Curious for your thoughts on the two managers who have very different playing backgrounds and they're at very different stages in their coaching careers, but they're two huge figures in GAA in their own rights. So, Pádraig Joyce, first of all, as soon as Joyce got the job, he was talking about Galway winning All Irelands to the point where I thought, I'm not sure, is this the right way to approach this? I mean, you're Pádraig Joyce and everything, and you have the playing career, but like, there's a reality here, and Galway are way down the pecking order. But he was militant about it. And then he had such a strange 2 years given COVID. Like in 2019, he takes over the Galway under-20s. They win Connacht, that's fine. And then he gets the big job. So 2020, given COVID, he has one championship match. Loses to Mayo, that's it, because there's no New York, there's no London. So one game in the championship in 2020, lose to Mayo. And then 2021, again, it's straight knockout. They beat Roscommon and they lose to Mayo again, despite leading by 5 points at half-time. So coming into this year, Joyce and Galway have 3 championship games, which is nothing. I mean, that's like half a Mayo qualifying run to an All-Ireland final, really. Did you see this coming at all, despite Joyce's big talk?
I think I said to you the last time I was on that as soon as I heard Keane O'Neill was coming in, I knew straight away we were going to be better. Now, did I think they get to an Ireland final? No, but I thought that they would progress, and maybe next year you might see something from a Galway team in the latter stages of the championship. So they're probably ahead of schedule in that regards. Look at Pádraig, what you said there when he came in first. I think we're all looking at the comments thinking, right, he's putting big pressure on his team, and it can either go one way or another in that regards, and it went the other way in them. Huge factors in that, as you mentioned already, with COVID. They never got a run at all. They were flying in the league, and next thing COVID comes, and the first game back we smashed them up in Tuam and in the first league game, and they never recover from that. And look at his take until now, but look at sign of a good manager and a good leader. He realised he needed help, and he got that help, and he got a top class coach in. Would Galway be in the final out without Keane O'Neill? I don't think they would. I think he's that good, and I think he would have brought that much of a professionalism and a real top class environment set up to Galway.
And could you give us a few more details on like top class environment and what Keane O'Neill brings in that respect?
Yeah, well, bearing in mind it's 10 years ago now since we worked with Keane, so I'm sure he's developed even further on at that stage. But like I remember when he first came in 2012, we were having training sessions that were lasting over 2 hours, nearly 2.5 hours, because literally he would be stopping every drill, telling us where we should be, what he wanted to do. If a ball hit the ground, he was going nuts. We were doing punishment drills, and he was trying to develop create an environment and create a mindset where everyone should be improving, everyone should be developing. And I suppose he just really continued that on. And he was doing stuff that we'd never seen before. And I think I've heard James O'Donnell referencing this when he came in with Kerry. Then he was the exact same with them as well. And they would have had brilliant setups over the years and brilliant managers and management teams. He's, of course, had huge experience with other teams, with Tip and obviously managed Kildare and Cork. Funnily enough, he managed to pull off a win against Kerry in that famous game in Páirc Uí Chaoimh a couple of years ago as selector. So look, he does add so many things to a team environment, there's no doubt about it.
Because I remember Tomás O'Shea being slightly critical of Keane O'Neill before, and one of the criticisms of him, fair or otherwise, I've never been in a Keane O'Neill session, but I can ask you, is that there was too much talking from Keane O'Neill in a session?
And that's a fair point, and some boys would have felt that way. But I think if you grab a team who's willing to learn, like I think Galway would have been just desperate. If you're a Galway player, especially watching Mayo get to All Ireland finals and not being really where they should have been for the last number of years, and you're desperate to improve, if you just listen to this fella, like he knows what he's talking about. Like he's a really big ego, but he knows what he's talking about, and he's excellent in the way he delivers information. So I know probably for the Kerry lads who would have won so much over the years, they probably don't need to be listening to Keane for over 2 hours in a session. They probably just want to keep it moving. But if you're really willing to try and improve as a team, like the likes of a Galway, I suppose have been this year, then I think he would have been excellent for them.
Interesting. And like, who knows how much pressure Joyce was under? Because I mean, again, it would have been entirely unfair, but like life isn't always fair. 3 matches, and the way he celebrated that Mayo game this year suggested a man who felt like, whew, the knives almost would have been out for me early doors. I don't know if you were hearing those soundings down there at all.
Yeah, I would say it was huge. Like if he loses to Mayo for 3 years in a row, loses to a James Horan team, I'm not sure what Galway recovered from that. Going into the qualifiers, as much as an improvement as Keane O'Neill would have made to things, I think the confidence that would have, if they didn't win that game, the knock-on effect from that would have been huge. So I think it's a massive, massive win, and it's amazing what one win can do to a team, Joe. Like literally everything follows on from there.
It does feel that way with them. So then, and Jack O'Connor completely cuts this point off at the legs, right? Because he doesn't have the storied playing career that Joyce has. But, you played under Horan, for instance, who did do it in an All-Ireland final and played very well in an All-Ireland final and knows what it's all about. And you've played under managers who didn't have the same playing career. Do you suspect it makes a difference that it's Joyce telling players to do X and Joyce telling players to do Y, given his playing career? Or is that largely irrelevant to a playing cohort who can't remember Joyce the player?
Yeah, it's a funny one. Look, even if they can't remember Joyce the player, their families and their fathers and their mothers and their cousins, they all be telling them about poor Joyce, and they would have seen videos and plenty of videos, I'm sure, of Galway winning the All-Ireland over the years, and obviously him being a central part of it. So look, I'd say earlier on, especially that initial, whatever he would have said, they would have been hanging off his every word. As time goes on, then you need to obviously back that up with results. But now the fact that they're in a final, I'm sure Park will be referencing the 98 team, the 2001 team, and it just might give them a small bit of extra belief maybe that they need. He might have been, even something simple like talking about the homecoming, he might mention what it was like in 98, 2001, coming back into Tuam or wherever it was, and it just might give them a small bit of a motivation coming into the game on Sunday, which can be small things like that.
Yeah. I mean, parallel universe and all that, you wonder what benefit it would have been to your Mayo team to have, real life role models who are like, oh yeah, 15, 20 years ago we do that. That happens. It's not impossible. I remember this. I remember that.
Yeah, and look, and that's probably the cycle we're trying to break. That's the cycle our team was trying to break, because once it's done, it's done, Joe. And, as you said then, anything is possible for any team after that, so that's kind of the disappointing thing from my side as a player, that we didn't get that job done and kind of break that cycle that's run about. But that's not to say that won't be done over the next couple of years for the Mayo team.
A word then on Jack O'Connor just before we take a break. So 6th All-Ireland final as a Kerry manager, looking to win his 4th Senior All-Ireland. So a winner in 04, 06, 09, under 21 winning manager in 98, manager of the winning minors in 2014 and 2015, has won 5 Munsters between 04 and 12 as a manager, has won 4 national leagues between 04 and of course this year. And then 1990s, it's like just an array of every school title you care to mention. This guy is just managing royalty, like just serial winner. And whatever difficulties his lack of playing career might have had at the beginning, these days he walks into that Kerry dressing room and says, I know what it takes, follow me. And automatic buy-in, I would think.
Yeah, it's just unbelievable when you go through the honours there. Kind of when you were talking there, kind of Alex Ferguson nearly came into my head there. Not a hugely prevalent playing career with winning titles, but just starts managing and just is relentless after that. And it's kind of like Jack O'Connor there, again, no more when I chatted about Keane O'Neill earlier on, when I heard he was coming back with Kerry, you're just thinking straight away, them boys are going to win the All-Ireland. And here they are, here they are. And look at so many of them boys would be hanging off his every word. And the belief, just the fact that Jack O'Connor's there with them, because them boys, well, a lot of them haven't done it. David Moore, Paul Ganey, Paul Murphy obviously have, Jack Barry, and possibly might be forgetting 1 or 2 more. Them boys obviously have, but to have physically Jack O'Connor there with you, no stone is going to be left unturned going into this final. That obviously will give them a bit more belief.
Well, it almost feels like the Kerry County Board looked at this new golden generation who weren't getting over the line, and they thought, crap, we can't let too much scar tissue break up. Who's the most guaranteed serial winner we can think of? Grand. Break the glass, bring home Jack. It feels like that's exactly what they did here. Yeah,
and we need to obviously go old school on this, and go back to the future a small bit. But look, we mentioned Keane O'Neill earlier on. Even Jack O'Connor, as brilliant as he is as a manager, has to go up north and get Paddy Tally, So sometimes you're only as good as the boys you have around you as a management team, So that was a really interesting move from my behalf, but I think a really smart one on Jack's behalf.
Yeah, for sure. Listen, I want to talk to you about this game and get into some specifics, which we'll do in just a moment. Our Gaelic football on Off the Ball is in partnership with AIB, proud sponsors of the GAA Senior Football Championship. Check out #TheToughest for more. Colm Boyle staying with us. We're going to talk about the upcoming 70 minutes in just a moment.
Gaelic football on Off the Ball.
With AIB, proud sponsors of the GAA Senior Football Championship. Check out #TheToughest for more.
Gaelic football on Off the Ball.
With AIB, proud sponsors of the GAA Senior Football Championship. Check out #TheToughest for more.
Now, very happy to say that Colm Boyle, four-time All-Star, is with us. He knows plenty about All-Ireland finals as well. We've talked about, I suppose, the architecture and some of the protagonists involved in this final. To get into some specifics then, a lot of people are presuming, largely through Galway's approach, that this will be a cagey game, or certainly this will be a very cagey opening to the game. We will not concede goals. We will stay in this as long as possible. This will be the Galway approach. Now, if that is the Galway approach, I presume as an opposition in Kerry, if one team decides this is going to be cagey, there's not much you can do to make it uncagey.
Well, you saw Galway against Derry in the semi-final. Obviously, Derry brought that more so than Galway, and Galway pretty much replicated it up the other end of the field. So, yeah, there's a couple of things from that. On Galway's side, there's almost two elements of this game. Survive the early onslaught that's likely to come your way from Kerry, and be in this game, like I said, with 15 minutes, 20 minutes to go, to really test that Kerry resolve and see, can you bring them to a place that they don't want to go. Early doors, a lot of people are saying it's going to be cagey. I think it's nearly up to Kerry in that regards. I think we expect Galway to be cagey. I think it's up to Kerry. Are they just going to hold possession if Galway have players back and that they've two wing backs there protecting the D? Or are they maybe going to try a couple of long diagonals and just test out that Galway from backline, test out Conor Gleeson in the early doors? Because if you kick in 3 and you win 1 and it's a goal chance, you know what I mean? It'll just completely break up the play, and it'll make that Galway backline really, really nervous and edgy about what's happening. And that would have been typical Jack O'Connor's form over the years. And obviously, as Mayo people, we really remember that. He identified weakness in the Mayo full backline in the air, and he went for it in the All-Ireland finals, and they were just kicking in long diagonals. Galway would be a lot more protected than that the next day. So will they be willing to take that risk? And if it does, it just might break up the kind of pattern of play of possession over and back the pitch and looking to punch them holes.
I guess if you're Kerry, you don't have much to lose there, in that if you're holding possession out around the 45 or a bit further out and you decide to launch one in, I mean, if you don't win that ball, it's not as damaging as a turnover kind of on 45 and suddenly you're hit on the break.
Exactly, yeah. And like I said, there's a risk reward to it. Obviously you can lose it, but I think the reward will be huge, even psychologically. Just imagine Clifford going up to the clouds and pulling one down, getting a mark or Paddy coming off his shoulder and getting a score or a goal chance. The crowd from that straight away is up on their feet and things can nearly start flowing from there. We already talked about the edginess that might be there in the Galway from backline. Wasn't tested against Derry. They were probably seriously relieved that Derry didn't try any kind of aerial bombardment after, especially the last 20 minutes against Armagh and what happened there. But I think Conor Gleeson will know in the back of his mind that there's something different coming here on Sunday. So I think to test it early is the key for Kerry. And
that vulnerability in the Galway full back line and Conor Gleeson in the goal, is that to do with Gleeson? Is that to do with the full back line? Is it an issue of height or organisation, or what is it? Do we know?
I think Conor himself definitely looked edgy on a couple of them balls. There's no doubt about it. And even the one that he won for the second goal, he hand passes that away. And that can just be a lack of maybe not being comfortable on the ball, especially when the pressure comes on you. So I think once the first one happened, the other two nearly came as a result of nerves. Everyone else can become edgy then after that, you know what I mean? I think I'm not sure it was a part Joyce that pointed out that a lot of the times his defenders should have been protecting him more, so they should have been blocking out the attackers that were running in on loose balls. So I think I'm sure Galway have been working on that a lot of training and focusing on not just ball watching, that you're actually blocking out the Kerry attackers as they're coming in.
I suppose one of the reasons we don't quite know what Kerry are going to do is that bar Cork, and Cork are not as good a side as Galway, Kerry haven't come up against top class defensive setup. That is the one test they haven't had to pass yet, the one examination.
Yeah, big time, and they struggled for long periods of that game. Granted, it's in Porky Ring, it's a lot tighter pitch than Croke Park, but they really, really struggle. And it was only really when they unleashed the likes of Paul Gainey and the Cavalry with 20 minutes to go, and obviously Cork started to tire as well, that they really started to pull away on that. But it'll be very, very interesting. Like, if you go through Kerry's championship campaign, like, struggled for long periods against Cork. We weren't hugely impressive against Mayo, let's be honest, and really out of sorts Mayo team compared to the last couple of years, and then struggled for long periods in the second half against Dublin as well, a Dublin team that we all know now is not a patch on the team from 4 or 5 years ago. So when you kind of add all that up, and your Park Joyce and Keane O'Neill, that's nearly feeding into your belief that, hold on a second, we bring a performance here on Sunday, we have a right good chance here.
I mean, the other, and you mentioned at the outset, like Galway's aim is to stay in the game, take Kerry to a place they don't want to go in the last 10, 15 minutes. And are you getting there at the fact that, like, Kerry haven't got over the line yet in a final? Galway have no scar tissue as such. Kerry have got some. And look, again, unfortunately, I don't like to bring it all back to your experience, but you do know what it's like to be a side in an All-Ireland final, where at the back of your mind, you're thinking, for some reason, we haven't got over the line here before. And now we're in a battle. I wonder, are we, less likely to get over the line for whatever reason? Does that cross players' mind, do you think, in the last 10, 15 minutes? Did it cross your minds in the last 10 minutes?
I'm not sure if it crossed my mind or not. There's nothing really specifically that stands out, but definitely, even in the crowd, there's nearly a small bit of an edginess. I would even say the Mayo crowd in the last 10 minutes of the game, especially if there's a missed shot or a mistake by one of our players, suddenly there can be something there that can nearly trigger a sense of emotion, But for Galway,
sorry, were you? Because I totally agree. Having been in plenty of those crowds, there's a groan of familiarity and looks of here we go again. Could you hear that as a player? Yeah.
You would, and even I think the 17 final, I think I was off the pitch for the last 10 minutes, and after Leroy's goal, we made a couple of mistakes, and I think we kicked a wide or two, and you could feel the sense from the crowd that they were really getting edgy. Not saying that had any effect on the game or anything like that, but when you compare it to Galway the next day, I don't think that'll be there. You know what I mean? I think Galway supporters will be quite happy for him to be within a point or two of Kerry coming down with 10 minutes to go, and really happy with their team's chances in that 10 minutes,
God, that's fascinating. Boyle blames Mayo crowd will not be the headline.
No, they're brilliant. They're brilliant supporters, don't get me wrong.
So that must be there. Look, Kerry was like, geez, Tyrone got us, and the year before that we couldn't get over the line. So maybe it's in the crowd, maybe it's in the ether. These things are hard to define, but like the fact that you mentioned it in the conversation here, and Galway are probably thinking that way, suggests there is something to it, that almost we get into the last 10 minutes. Psychology is a funny thing, and Galway have nothing to lose here in that last 10 minutes. Kerry have quite a lot to lose.
I really don't think Galway have much to lose. Obviously, it's an All-Ireland final. It's nearly a mad thing to say, but just throw everything at them. All the pressure is on Kerry for me. They've been expected to win probably the All-Ireland since Jack O'Connor took over. Obviously, brilliant throughout the league campaign. They've probably been hit or miss through the championship, but they've had that huge win against Dublin now. And that's kind of the monkey that's been on their back for the last 2 years, bar winning the All-Ireland, is that Dublin team and getting over them. They've that done, it's now to win the All-Ireland, but nothing else more than that will do for them and their supporters. Like, could you imagine the reaction on Sunday night, on Monday and into next week if Kerry don't win this All-Ireland? It'll be absolutely huge. And there's absolutely no doubt that will cross their minds this week. But it's, as we've already said, it's in that last 5 or 10 minutes. Like, if Galway went 1-2 up with 5-10 minutes to go, that's when we're only going to see that the result that's in the Kerry team.
Is there composure in that team under those circumstances? Dara O'Shea in the Irish Times mentioned a few worries. He said, one, Shane Walsh hasn't cut loose yet, and there's always that fear when almost their best player hasn't cut loose yet and has a point to prove. He said, my other worry for Kerry is that the bench hasn't brought very much to the table in recent games. So again, that plays into your last 15 minutes point. Is that a fair critique of the Kerry bench?
It is. I'd say Jack O'Connor would have been seriously disappointed with the impact against Dublin, bar Paul Murphy. I thought he was really good when he came on, and obviously a crucial play in the last score that they got. But I think that if you're asking me between the two benches who was the strongest, I'd say it's still definitely Kerry, and still the most likely to maybe have an impact on Sunday. And I'm sure Jack O'Connor would have had maybe quite an input after the game the last day, and maybe giving them a bit of a fire in the bellies that he needs more from the bench going forward. They didn't look like themselves in that regards, but I definitely expect them to be better the next day.
So you said a couple of moments ago you do expect Galway to take Kerry somewhere interesting in this game. That suggests you do think in that opening half hour they have a fair old chance of keeping Kerry at bay and keeping things cagey. So how are Galway going to stop this Kerry forward line? And like, who's going to take who? Is there any matchup you think that really plays into Galway hands? Because we're looking at the Kerry forwards, and if they're in the mood, they're in the mood.
Yeah, they're not bad. They're not bad, Joe. Look at the obvious ones. Everyone is talking about Tom O'Sullivan, Walsh, Foley, and Comer. For them, it's going to be an ideal situation that Matthew Tierney's going to drop out the pitch, so you have Morley to naturally play as a free defender, and he's going to obviously, I think he's going to pay a lot more attention to Comer and Foley in particular. Because if you let Comer get the ball, it's often too late because he's so powerful, even if he's got a couple of defenders in front of him. So I think he'd be trying to cut off that ball into Comer's path an awful lot. I think they'd be more happy to let Tom O'Sullivan almost go one-on-one in a certain way on Shane Walsh. But up the other end for Kerry, for Galway in their defence, I'd be shocked if Kelly doesn't pick up David Clifford. I think it'd be Liam Silk and Sean O'Shea, especially if he starts inside. And then obviously their two wing backs dropping into the D. I would expect Kieran Molloy to pick up Paddy Clifford and almost play it centre half back and just go with him wherever he goes. And that will leave Dylan McHugh and John Daly almost to play them two on the D, the two spare Galway half backs. If Gavin White doesn't play, I'd probably expect Johnny Healy almost to switch wings and play almost on Stephen O'Brien when Kerry get the ball and pick him up, which would free McHugh to drop in and play one of them free half back roles.
Yeah. So say Sean Kelly takes David Clifford. It's our fullback and your talisman.
Yeah.
I saw the point made that for certainly two of Clifford's points, they came when Mick Fitzsimons vaunted up the field and left the likes of, Gannon,
Merchant.
You keep an eye on him. I'm up here to contribute, and then bang, turnover, work it to Clifford, score. Would you advocate if you're Joyce and Keane O'Neill and you're trying to plan for the day with Sean Kelly? Don't worry about going anywhere. Don't leave him for a second. If you're coming to the field, you need to score the greatest goal of all time here. Otherwise, sacrifice yourself absolutely and don't contribute to our play in possession. Is that how you'd advocate marking Clifford, or is it just easy for me to kind of pick out, well, look, Fitzsimons happened to go forward in these two instances, therefore?
Yeah, I think that's a really interesting point. I think there's two things in that almost. I think Jack O'Connor is probably Clifford told, you probably haven't the training done that that we'd like you to have done. We don't want you running 80, 90, 100 yards back the pitch after your man. Pass them on to a Diarmuid O'Connor or to a Jack Barry or someone like that that'll track him down the pitch. And then you, as you have already pointed out, you'll get isolated with someone who probably doesn't want to be marking you. So I think you will see exactly that if Sean Kelly does take off the next day, a Diarmuid O'Connor or Paddy Clifford or someone going with them like that, and leaving David Clifford close to goal, and most importantly saving his energy. The other side of that, if you're part Joyce, you might actually learn from that and do exactly what you said and say, Sean, you're brilliant at going forward and you're a real attacking threat for us, but we've other boys that can do that. We need you to really just do a job for us. Even if you don't touch the ball the next day, just hold Clifford to the least amount of scores possible.
Yeah. And so if you're Liam Silk or you're Jack Lynn and Sean Kelly takes off, are you screaming saying, get that back here now?
Yeah, I think so. But even you said it there, like Jack Lynn, that's the last thing you want happening is Jack Lynn marking up David Clifford. You saw it there with Merchant as well. Just physically, it's not going to work. Yeah, and Liam Silk is going to have enough on his hands with Sean O'Shea, I think, as well. So I think Kelly will have to be really disciplined, as much as he mightn't like it, as much as he's so brilliant at going forward. I think just to do a job for the team, you just do this job, and obviously just try and take Clifford out of the game.
Yeah, like it's going to be such an intriguing game and interesting game in so many ways. Like a defining memory for Mayo fans of the Kerry game will be Cillian O'Connor 15 yards behind Tom O'Sullivan having to sprint back towards his own goal. And, Tom O'Sullivan coming up the pitch is, he probably has his All Star bagged. He's been one of the players of the season. So say it's O'Sullivan on Shane Walsh. Again, do you say to Shane Walsh, well, when Tom O'Sullivan goes, let him go, pass him off? Or do you say, listen, what could be more inspiring than marquee player chasing back and taking Tom O'Sullivan down? I mean, these are the kind of dilemmas, I suppose, that Keane O'Neill and Joyce will have. I guess Shane Walsh dictates that because he has to decide whether to go or not.
Yeah, he does, and they're probably slightly different in the fact that Walsh will be a bit deeper out the pitch, I would suspect, for most of the game. You'd expect Clifford to obviously be inside. Walsh is kind of roaming around the half-forward line, so he might have no option with it. but to go from, especially if the ball breaks up and it's a turnover or something like that, and you literally don't have time to pass them on, you have to go from him. You made the point there about Tom O'Sullivan. Often he does so many man-marking jobs, but often the best form of defence for him is to attack and get his man on the back foot. So I think you'll see him doing that as much as possible the next day and really trying to get back Shane Walsh back defending.
Yeah, and it's a bit like, I mean, we talk about it in soccer where there's a wing back, and it's like, does the winger spend more time defending that wing back, or does he gamble and wait in the wing? You know, and it's like this game of cat and mouse.
Yeah.
In GA, you'd probably have a sense, because we would make forays forward. What tends to dictate who wins that? Like, is Tom O'Sullivan going to spend more of his time going forward and Shane Walsh thinking, bloody hell, why am I going back towards my own goal? Or will it be the opposite? Why does one tend to happen over the other?
Yeah, it's a funny one. And look, obviously the perfect example is Lee Keegan from playing with them over the years. Like, I could never really understand why you detail, you know, if he was trying to pick up one of their talisman, why you'd be detailing that talisman to track him down the pitch, get someone else to do it and pick him up from general play. It can be easier said than done, obviously, you know, especially on quick turnovers. But it's one of the great parts of the game as well. You know what I mean? Tom O'Sullivan, like, it will be fascinating, you know, seeing O'Sullivan going forward, and if it's Walsh going after him, as you said, Walsh turning him over even down the other end of the pitch, and the lift that gives his team, and it gives the Galway crowd as well, and coming back up the pitch. So that's going to be a really good battle between them two. And I think Darrell Kinnaid has made a really good point. I was actually thinking about this during the week. It's almost set up for Shane Walsh here. You know, he's been, even go back to the Mayo game, he was really quiet, kind of finally played well from play. Armagh game quiet from play, and Derry game quiet again from play, but he's nailed his frees, importantly. But this could be nearly set up from a really big performance from play. And if he does, you got to be thinking, Jesus, it could be really Galway's day, because the lift again that will give his teammates and the crowd if he just caught fire.
So as we begin to kind of segue towards the end of this conversation, you're really suspecting Galway are in with a massive shout here?
I think they have a huge chance, Joe. I do look at, I think Kerry, they've got a couple of exceptional players, there's no doubt about it, the obvious ones. I don't think they're an exceptional team by any means. And I think they do have weak links and areas to be got at by Galway that we've kind of already spoken about. It's just if Galway will have enough to do it. I'm not 100% sure on it, but I can see this going right to the wire. And I know I've talked to a lot of people in the last week who don't feel it's going to be that way. They can see this being quite comfortable for Kerry, but the first 20 minutes we've already mentioned, they're key for me. If Galway stay in that game and really just keep within arm's length of Kerry at all stage, I think they have a right good chance coming down the home stretch. And
so will Galway open up down the home stretch? Is that what, like, or will they stay cagey the full 70, or will scoreboard dictate that?
Scoreboard will probably dictate if they've come out and play, but I think naturally in the second half, I think normally in games it normally does open up regardless, you know what I mean? I think we will see that bit of caginess early on, but I think after, especially as they go into the first 10 minutes of the second half, I think they'll naturally open up, and naturally more players will go forward when they have the ball, especially if they're maybe 2, 3, 4 points and they're trying to chase the game down a small bit more.
And I tell you what, they're fit, Galway. You think of McDade's goal in extra time against Armagh, like they've gone to as deep as you have to go.
Yeah, there would certainly be no issues there. Definitely not. Look, against Armagh, I was at that game. I thought they were the better team throughout the 70 minutes, but certainly in extra time, even though it was actually them trying to chase the game back, I thought they looked in really good nick that day. So there'd be absolutely no issues on that regards. And I think, look, if Gavin White, we haven't really mentioned him, if he is out for Kerry, he's a huge loss because, okay, he hasn't been brilliant so far in the championship, but he's the one player for Kerry, obviously bar Tom O'Sullivan, that you would fear from deep. Like if he wins the ball or comes onto a ball 60 yards from goal, it's actually a goal chance because he'll break a line and everything else will just open up from there. So if he is out for Kerry, I think that's definitely one less headache for poor Joyce and Keane O'Neill.
Yeah. Well, I guess that's the other aspect of a final, isn't it? There's often a player, for all the build-up that people haven't really honed in on, who does something brilliant and is inspired, and that's almost like one of the great traditions. And it's been a factor with Galway of late, whereby at the start of the year we talked about Conroy and Comer and Walsh, and they're the three and they're playing well, so Galway are playing well. I would say in the last couple of games, honourable mention of Comer, of course, in the last day, but others have really stepped up for Galway in a way that 6 months ago you wouldn't have pointed to.
100%, and I think that's probably one of the most pleasing aspects for poor Joyce. Like, you know, your Tierney's. I thought John Daly was brilliant the last Day. I thought he was really good against Armagh. Probably a bit of a unsung hero, I'd say. Yeah, Finnerty was quite the last day, but I thought he was brilliant against Armagh when they needed him. So there's so many aspects. And Conroy, his form definitely has waned from his early season form, I would say, but he's still so brilliant in so many aspects of the game and himself. I actually noticed something around during the week. The amount of throw-ins Galway win is actually unbelievable. I think in the 4 major games they played, including extra time against Armagh, they've won 9 out of the 10 throw-ins, himself and Tierney, and they've got 4 or 5 scores from that. I think even small things like that, just driving your team on, getting up, winning the throw-in, driving your team forward and getting a score on the scoreboard, just settling everything down for your team. I think without him being exceptional, I think he's been really, really good in the championship. And I think McDade has just given them a new sense of light, and probably that bit of legs that they need around Conroy, just getting up and down the pitch, has been vital for them.
And a last one, Colm, it's like a gaping hole in any preview now if you don't mention kickouts. They're so integral.
Yeah.
So are you anticipating anything interesting at kickouts from either side?
I think pretty much what we've seen from Kerry, I think they would press as high as possible on Conor Gleeson and try and force him long. And obviously, if you're Gleeson, you're trying to avoid David Moore now around the middle. I would expect him to match up with Conroy and Barry on McDade, the two kind of more mobile guys on each other, and the two elder statesmen, obviously, of either team on each other. So I think for Conor Gleeson, I would be very surprised if you see many kickouts, short kickouts the next day. I think an awful lot of them will be long, and he'll be looking for the likes of Tierney, Kelly, and Damien Comer actually comes deep an awful lot for kickouts and tries to win them around the centre forward area. I think you'll see that an awful lot, and avoid kickouts around to the D where you're giving the likes of Sean O'Shea, Clifford, these guys a chance to get in and make a turnover.
It's just not worth the risk. It's amazing all those years Cluxton had bobbled at 5 yards to his right to fullback.
Yeah, incredible. Yeah, used to be very frustrating. It used to be very, very frustrating because they're coming straight down the pitch at you. I think even what you might see from both sides is a lot of directness from kickouts and trying to win them long, and that's where you might find, especially from a Kerry point of view, win your long kickouts. That's when Galway actually might be most open. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And try and get that direct ball in early into O'Shea and into obviously Clifford inside.
Yeah. I mean, I can't wait for it now. You've set that up beautifully. So give us your final overarching, we're going to play this on a Monday because you've called what's going to happen so perfectly answer.
Yeah, look at it. All logical thinking kind of points towards a Kerry win, really. But I just think Galway have such a massive opportunity ahead of them. I still think Kerry just will do it. The Jack O'Connor factor is a huge factor, and obviously the two exceptional players I've mentioned already, O'Shea and Clifford. I think when it comes down to it, as you saw in the semi-final, and O'Shea pulling out that free, that they probably just will have enough with their bench on top of it to get over the line. But I think it'll be a hell of a battle, and if it is Galway that comes out on top, I won't be hugely shocked. Right,
okay. Got all this, like, Kerry have won the All-Ireland procession talk in the immediacy of the Dublin game has really watered down. I mean, everybody's predicting a really tough game now, so hopefully it's a great final. Our Gaelic football coverage on Off the Ball is in partnership with AIB, proud sponsors of the GAA Senior Football Championship. Check out #TheToughest for more. Colm Boyle, that was fantastic. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Joe.
On Off the Ball
with AIB, proud sponsors of the GAA Senior Football Championship.